Taurus, steady soul, builder of beauty and quiet strength, this is far more than another horoscope video. What you're about to hear carries the feeling of a turning season, one that may reshape the ground beneath your life in ways you never expected. Around May 25th and 26th, 2026, something rare begins to unfold, not with chaos, but like the first signs of green returning after a long winter. Take a breath and let that settle into you for a moment. Something that has been forming beneath the surface for a very long time is finally preparing to rise. And if you found yourself here listening now, then perhaps your spirit already sensed the shift before your mind could explain it. You are responding to something deeper than coincidence. This moment is arriving with the kind of timing that cannot be forced or manufactured. During May 25th and 26th, a rare alignment between Jupiter, the planet tied to growth, opportunity and expansion, and Venus, your ruling planet, begins stirring a powerful current beneath the surface of your life. This is not only about astrology, it feels more like the reopening of a path that was quietly waiting for you to become ready enough to walk it. Taurus, this is not the season to keep searching endlessly for confirmation outside yourself. The sign you've been waiting for may already be here. Life has been preparing you for this in ways that probably felt frustrating while you were living through them. The setbacks, the pauses, the slow seasons where nothing seemed to move the way you hoped. They were not empty experiences, they were shaping your foundation. What felt delayed was often being strengthened beneath the surface, like roots growing deeper before anything visible could bloom. Somewhere inside you, you've always felt that there was more waiting for you than survival alone. A quiet knowing that something unfinished still lived inside your heart. And now that inner voice no longer feels distant. It feels closer, steadier, almost ready to speak clearly. So let me ask you, are you ready to receive? Because this message is not simply about prediction, it is about recognition. The dreams you once buried because life became too heavy or uncertain may begin returning now with new weight and new purpose. And Taurus, you are not meant to carry this next chapter alone. Around this time, a conversation, an unexpected message, or even someone from your past could reappear carrying clarity, support, or the kind of understanding you once thought had slipped away for good. Stay open to what arrives, because some opportunities return softly, and only once. Before we go further, I want to genuinely thank you for being here. Every comment, every kind word, every person who continues showing up helps create a space where people can feel seen during seasons of change like this. What's being built here goes beyond content. It becomes a place where people searching for healing, truth and direction can feel less alone while they move through their own transformations. And if something in this message already feels familiar to your spirit, like hearing a song you haven't thought about in years suddenly drifting back through the air, then take a moment to comment below. I no longer chase what is meant for me. I am ready to receive it. Trust me, Taurus, you'll want to stay with this video all the way through, because what begins unfolding from here may touch parts of your life you thought had gone silent. Tell me, what quiet shift inside you brought you here today? There are moments in life when something beneath the surface begins changing before the outside world fully reflects it. For you, Taurus, that change begins around May 25th and 26th, 2026, through an alignment that feels less like luck and more like the slow opening of a locked door inside yourself. This energy does not simply brush past your life and disappear. It awakens something that has been waiting patiently within you, like a seed beneath the soil finally reaching toward the light. In astrology, Jupiter moves into Gemini during this period, bringing expansion through communication, thought, connection, and new ways of understanding the world around you. This movement is not random. Gemini carries the energy of ideas, perspective, and meaningful encounters that shift the direction of our lives in subtle but lasting ways. And as Jupiter moves through this energy, it does not only sharpen the mind, it begins opening space for you to see your life differently, to recognize possibilities that may have once felt too distant or impossible to reach. For Taurus, an earth sign that moves through life with patience and quiet endurance, this moment carries real weight. The energy around May 25th and 26th, 2026, does not arrive loudly. It moves like rain sinking slowly into dry ground, reaching places inside you that have waited a long time to soften again. As Jupiter forms a supportive connection with your Sun, space begins opening between who you've been and who you are becoming. What awakens now is not only possibility, but a deeper understanding of yourself that has quietly waited beneath the surface all along. At the same time, Venus draws closer to Pluto, creating tension between comfort and transformation. While Jupiter expands your outer world through new perspectives and opportunities, Pluto works beneath the surface, loosening fears and protective habits you built just to survive. This energy touches the parts of you that learn to stay silent, settle for less, or shrink your desires to feel safe. And now a necessary question begins rising. Are you finally ready to reclaim the pieces of yourself you buried while trying to protect your peace? Taurus, people often see you as calm and dependable, but beneath that steadiness lives a strength that rarely receives enough recognition. This moment is not asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to stop denying what your soul can no longer ignore. If your life has felt like it has been waiting for something to shift, perhaps this is the season you sensed long before it arrived. Your disappointments, hidden gifts, quiet hopes, and abandoned dreams begin gathering into one realization. You may be more ready than you think. Real transformation rarely begins dramatically. More often, it starts through a conversation, a memory resurfacing, or a quiet realization that changes your direction without warning. The difference between a missed opportunity and a life-changing one is often readiness. And readiness begins when you stop dismissing what your spirit keeps trying to show you. Maybe you've already felt it lately, a strange pull toward something you thought was over, or the feeling that something inside you is beginning to wake up again. As Jupiter enters Gemini and harmonizes with your Sun, that inner pull becomes harder to ignore. And as Venus moves closer to Pluto, what once felt like a whisper may begin feeling impossible to silence. You do not need every answer right now, and you do not need to force certainty before it naturally arrives. But you are being asked to slow down long enough to notice what is changing inside you. There is a reason this message found you now, and it reaches deeper than coincidence. So sit honestly with whatever has been rising lately. Ask yourself, what truth have I avoided because staying the same felt safer? What desire keeps returning no matter how many times I silence it? What old story about myself no longer fits who I am becoming? Beyond this threshold is not simply a new chapter, but a new way of experiencing your life. A steadier kind of joy, a more rooted kind of peace. Taurus, the star, judgment, and the Ace of Swords arrive together like three quiet turning points unfolding within the same season of your life. Together they form a bridge between the version of you that learned how to survive and the version now ready to live more honestly. These cards do not enter dramatically. They move gently, like something long asleep, beginning to breathe again beneath the surface. And within that softness is a truth your heart may finally be ready to hear. The star carries healing into the places where disappointment once convinced you to stop believing in yourself. This is not fragile hope, untouched by hardship. It is the steadier kind that returns after loss and exhaustion. If there is a dream you quietly buried because the timing felt wrong or no one seemed to understand it, this may be your reminder that it never truly disappeared. It waited beneath the surface until the conditions were ready for growth again. Judgment enters not as punishment, but as awakening. It asks you to look at your past with compassion instead of shame, and realize that the person you used to be was never a failure, only unfinished. This card appears when something deeper inside begins calling for your attention through feeling rather than logic. And once that call reaches you fully, it becomes difficult to keep living disconnected from yourself. Then comes the Ace of Swords, arriving like clarity after months of emotional fog. Often this truth enters through ordinary moments, a sentence that stays with you, a memory returning differently, or a message from someone you never expected to hear from again. This card reflects the moment you stop avoiding the truth your spirit has circled around for years. And the real transformation begins when you allow that truth to shape the choices you make moving forward. When these energies come together, what returns is not only a dream, but the part of you that once believed your life could become something more. The voice inside you that knew who you were before fear taught you to settle for less. This feels less like repeating the past and more like a true beginning, because now you carry wisdom, experience, and stronger roots beneath you. In practical ways, this may appear as an old idea resurfacing, a relationship reconnecting after distance, or a path you once avoided suddenly revealing itself as the direction that fits you naturally. You may not immediately know what to do with what's unfolding, and that's okay. The message here is not to rush action, but to stay present enough to notice what keeps returning. Pay attention to the conversations that linger with you afterward. Notice how your body responds when certain names, places, or memories reappear. Trust the feeling that something once closed may slowly be opening again. Some of the deepest transformations begin quietly, almost unnoticed at first. And often, those moments come from the version of yourself that already exists beyond fear, patiently waiting for you to meet it. And for you, Taurus, beginning around May 25th and 26th, a series of quiet but meaningful shifts may begin unfolding in ways that feel strangely familiar to your spirit. These moments are not random. They feel more like pieces of your life slowly finding their way back together after a long season of uncertainty. At the center of it all is the return of something you once believed was too far gone to reach again. It may begin through a name resurfacing, a message arriving unexpectedly, or a reconnection that feels impossible to dismiss as coincidence. Perhaps it's someone you once struggled to understand, or someone who disappeared just as the connection began to matter. Their return may not come to reopen old wounds, but to bring something valuable back into your life: trust, clarity, support, or a sense of peace you didn't realize had quietly faded. Your instinct may be to protect yourself or question motives while you continue healing. But this season asks for something gentler than defense. It asks for honesty, wisdom, and the willingness to see whether both you and the situation have changed more than you expected. Not long after that, something else begins rising back to the surface. A dream you once set aside because it no longer felt realistic or safe to believe in. Maybe it was a path you abandoned when life became too exhausting or uncertain to carry both responsibility and desire at once. But now that dream begins returning with stronger roots beneath it. What once felt impossible slowly starts becoming tangible, grounded, and real. And perhaps most importantly, this time you no longer feel like you have to carry it all alone. Someone may enter your life now who recognizes your value without needing proof first. They see the part of you that learned to dim itself to keep others comfortable, and instead of asking you to shrink further, they encourage what has quietly waited inside you all along. Together, there is a sense of building something steadier and more genuine. During this phase, your presence begins speaking for itself. You stop forcing outcomes, yet opportunities and connections begin responding differently because your energy no longer feels divided against itself. There is a quiet power that appears when you stop trying to convince the world who you are. When you choose peace over constant proving and clarity over control, life often begins rearranging itself in ways you could not force before. Grace rarely arrives loudly. Sometimes it looks like a door opening simply because you finally became still enough to notice it had been there all along. These moments are not asking you to become perfect. They are asking you to become present. So ask yourself honestly, who are you becoming now that the noise is beginning to fall away? What part of yourself are you finally ready to reclaim, not for approval, but because it has always belonged to you? Real transformation begins here, not through dramatic upheaval, but through small choices made with patience, honesty, and courage. And if uncertainty still lingers, allow yourself to slow down instead of rushing toward answers. If something keeps returning, if your spirit continues recognizing it, then maybe this is not coincidence at all. Let this be the season where you stop mistaking stillness for failure. True strength is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like steadiness, presence, and trusting your own inner knowing. And when that shift settles into place, life does not simply react around you. It begins adjusting itself to meet the version of you that is finally ready to stand grounded in truth. And Taurus, you are moving into the kind of inner steadiness that quietly changes the direction of a life. Real transformation rarely begins through dramatic decisions. More often, it begins through smaller moments. Pausing before reacting, breathing before speaking, listening inward instead of constantly reaching outside yourself for certainty. As this energy deepens around May 25th and 26th, what matters most is not only what you do, but the energy you carry while doing it. During periods like this, your energy becomes a compass, guiding you back toward what truly nourishes you. Spiritual practice becomes something lived through the quiet habits shaping your days. You are not being asked to reinvent your life overnight, only to become more present within it. Begin simply. Give yourself a few quiet minutes each morning before the world begins asking things from you. Place your hand over your heart, breathe deeply, and imagine a future no longer built only around survival. As you exhale, picture yourself releasing the older versions of you that learned to carry everything alone. Whisper softly, "I am preparing myself for something beautiful and real." Even if part of you still doubts it, continue speaking gently to that fear until it loosens its grip. This is not about forcing outcomes. It is about creating the inner conditions where peace and growth can finally take root. Movement matters too, but not the exhausting kind that disconnects you from yourself. A slow walk in fresh air, stretching at sunrise, or standing quietly beneath the morning sky for a few extra breaths can carry more healing than you realize. The body remembers stress long after the mind tries to move on. And when you begin moving with softness instead of pressure, some of those emotional weights begin loosening as well. What you nourish yourself with physically matters during this season too. Fresh greens, herbs, grounding foods, and small rituals like adding lime to your water can help reconnect you to clarity and emotional balance. Foods rich in healthy fats may help steady both your focus and your mood. This is not about perfection. It is about learning to support yourself from the inside outward. Colors may carry meaning for you now as well. Soft blues calm the mind and create room for reflection. Silver and white remind you that every ending quietly carries the beginning of something else within it. Rose and violet tones may soften emotional defenses that no longer need to stay locked so tightly in place. You no longer need to prove your strength through exhaustion. There is power in softness too. Numbers may begin appearing more often during this period. The energy of 22 carries the feeling of building something lasting and meaningful, while 11 draws attention toward intuition and inner knowing. If repeating numbers begin catching your attention, let them gently remind you that your path may be unfolding more intentionally than you realize. Sometimes the shift that changes everything is not a sign from outside you, but the quiet decision to live differently than before. You do not need to see every step ahead right now. You only need enough trust to take the next honest step in front of you. And if your spirit feels tired after carrying too much for too long, let this become the season where receiving feels safe again. Not only receiving opportunities, but receiving rest, support, clarity, and peace. You do not need to solve your whole future at once. Even now, something beneath the surface may already be rearranging itself quietly on your behalf. Keep moving forward gently. Keep breathing through uncertainty instead of fighting it. Real miracles rarely arrive dramatically. Sometimes they begin through small moments of honesty, relief, or recognition that slowly rebuild your life over time. Taurus, you understand deeply the tension between holding on and letting go. And often, the moments that change us most do not begin through perfect plans. They begin with one small moment of trust. There's a story I want to share with you, not as advice, but as a reflection of what can happen when you finally allow life to meet you halfway. She was a Taurus woman who had built a life that once felt stable, meaningful, and deeply her own. She created a successful creative business with patience and care, filled a home with warmth, and poured herself into relationships she believed would last. But like many people who carry pain quietly, her life began unraveling slowly before everything seemed to collapse at once. The economy shifted, her business started falling apart, and soon after, she lost the home she had spent years building her life around. A relationship she trusted faded into silence, and what hurt most was not only the loss itself, but how deeply it shook her sense of identity. For someone who valued stability, beauty, and emotional connection, everything suddenly felt unfamiliar. For months, she pushed harder, searched for answers, and exhausted herself trying to rebuild life through control alone. But the tighter she held on, the further she drifted from herself. Then one morning, near May 25th, 2026, something unexpected appeared. She opened her email and saw a message from someone she never thought she would hear from again, a former competitor she once viewed cautiously. The message was simple. Would you be open to building something together? I think we could create more side by side than apart. Her instinct was to resist, to overthink every possibility before disappointment could reach her again. But deep down, she had grown tired of living in constant defense. Not because she suddenly had certainty, but because some part of her knew she could no longer stay emotionally closed to life. So she said yes, and that one choice slowly changed everything. Over the following months, they built something new together, something that honored her gifts without draining her spirit. Financial stability gradually returned, but more importantly, so did her confidence, direction, and quiet joy. She reconnected with family in more genuine ways and finally made peace with parts of her story she had avoided for years. Even love returned differently this time, not as fantasy or performance, but as something calm, grounded, and safe. Later she wrote, "The moment I stopped trying to control every outcome was the moment I noticed the path opening beneath me again. I had spent so much energy fighting life that I couldn't see life was still trying to meet me halfway." Stories like this happen more often than people realize. They rarely arrive dramatically. More often, they appear quietly through a message, a conversation, or a moment we almost dismiss because it seems too ordinary to matter. Whether people call it intuition, faith, or something deeply personal, the truth underneath remains the same. Sometimes, life begins moving again when we loosen our grip enough to let it. So if you find yourself standing in uncertainty right now, Taurus, do not rush to rebuild everything through logic alone. Leave space for what you cannot fully predict yet. Sometimes one unexpected message, one honest conversation, or one quiet decision changes the direction of an entire life. And when that moment finds you, May your heart be soft enough to recognize it. Perhaps the miracle you've been waiting for has already begun. Through the quiet way, you are slowly becoming yourself again. Taurus, as you stand at the edge of this new season around May 25th and 26th, pause for a moment. Not to search outside yourself for more signs, but to listen to the quieter voice that has been guiding you all along. The voice that stayed with you through every dream you buried too early, and every moment your intuition whispered that waiting was not failure. That voice may be the very thing you've been asking life to reveal to you. You are no longer simply searching for peace or stability. You are becoming someone capable of creating both from within. And beginning around May 25th and 26th, even your smallest choices may begin shaping your future more deeply than you realize. Every moment you choose honesty over fear, calm over pressure, and trust over survival becomes part of the transformation unfolding beneath the surface. This season does not ask you to have everything figured out. It only asks you to become more present, more open, and more willing to trust what you already feel deep down. Let these ideas become gentle rituals instead of rigid rules. Can you begin your mornings with a little stillness before the world becomes loud? Can you trust that the people returning now are meeting a different version of you because you are no longer who you used to be? Move forward with steadiness instead of urgency. Let this chapter become less about forcing outcomes and more about reconnecting to your own truth. You do not need to chase miracles endlessly. Sometimes the miracle begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself. You are what happens when clarity replaces survival mode, and Taurus finally stops waiting for permission to become who they already are. So ask yourself honestly, what truth are you finally ready to live? What part of yourself are you ready to reclaim? And are you willing to let go of the version of you that only knew how to survive, so a more peaceful version can finally emerge? If this message speaks to your heart, leave this comment below. I no longer chase what is meant for me. I am ready to receive it. And if this video stirred something inside you, a memory, a longing, or simply the feeling that life still holds more for you, share it. Someone else may need this message at the exact moment they find it. You are not walking through this season alone. Spaces like this exist to remind people that healing often begins quietly, long before the outside world notices it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this message enough to stay with it. And thank you for remaining open to the possibility that your life is still unfolding in ways you cannot fully see yet. If you haven't already, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and leave your comment below, not only to support the message, but to honor your own becoming. Taurus, this is not an ending. It feels more like the first steady step toward a life that finally reflects who you truly are becoming.